Thomas. We got a fun show for you guys. As always, on the Friday edition, Michael Lombardi joins the show.
Yes.
We'll talk about Christian Barmore's potential return as he's back at practice and what his timeline may look like. And we'll talk about, of course, the Krafts calling around the league, asking around about Drake Maye and a little Rams Patriots preview. But let's bring him in. Let's get right to it. Michael Lombardi, you're host of the Lombardi Line, coach with Bill Belichick, and, of course, GM Shuffle. Michael, how are we doing today, my friend?
Well, good, George. Travis, good to be here. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So, Michael, we were hoping to, bring you on, talk about the Patriots getting their third win of the season. Then Albert Breer reports the Krafts called around the league doing research on how to handle a young quarterback. In your opinion, is this overstepping and undermining the head coach that Robert Kraft claims he handpicked 4 years ago?
Well, it's just, the Krafts wanted to run the team. They're running their team. They're doing what they feel like is in the best interest of their team. I think that's what they are. The reason they got rid of Coach Belichick was because they wanted to control their team. And I think this is further evidence of how they want to. Would they have done this if Bill were in the chair? No, they wouldn't have to. Bill would already have the answer for them. But obviously somebody doesn't have the answer for them in the building, so they're seeking out advice. I find it interesting. It does, look, they've got a very inexperienced head coach. I know they've won 2 in a row, but, let's face it. They haven't beaten anybody of substance. I know the Bears game was a good win for them, but the things will get tougher this week against the Rams.
Michael, I agree with you. I found it interesting as well. You have been behind the curtain. Take our audience into, if you are Elliot Wolf and this happens, how do you handle it? I know it's weird that they did it, Michael, but they did it. So if you're in the building, how do you sort of handle it if you're in his position?
Well, I don't know if it's as much a shot at Elliott as it is on Mayo. Elliott doesn't control the development of the quarterback. I think what he's searching for is how do we get more production out of our quarterback? We think our quarterback's going to be great. I think this is actually a nod towards Elliott more than it is, and it's a nod against the head coach. I think, to me, because nobody in that building, Elliott can't come up with a plan for player development. Only Mayo can. Mayo's got to demand. He's got to coach the coaches to give a player development program. So I think this is more about Elliott, more about Mayo than anything. And I don't know, who are they calling? Mm-hmm. Who's going to help you? Who are you calling in the league that's going to help you? I could see calling somebody who's not in the league, but why would anybody want to help the Patriots? I don't. The 31 teams here are competition. Why would I share information that I think I'm doing a good job of to go ahead and give it to you so you can help it? To me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, and why now? Why not January 8th, the day after the season ends? You're picking 3rd overall. January 11th, when you decide to fire Bill Belichick, or the day you hired Jerod Mayo? Why now?
Because they don't have enough confidence in their head coach to figure it out, and they know when they hired an experienced head coach that they were going to have to be involved. They were going to have to be involved in a lot of these decisions. So I'm not as wondering why now. I'm just, to me, it's this part of. Look, they pretended that Jonathan's not involved. They pretend that Robert's not involved when we know they are involved. And this just further really indicts that statement that we just are fans. They're not. They're involved with their franchise. That's why they got rid of the head coach.
Yeah, I was going to piggyback off of that exact thought, Michael, because I look at this. You think about a guy like Jerry Jones, who has a brand, a reputation of meddling, of being involved, of making all these football decisions and taking credit for stuff that he probably shouldn't. But I'm looking at this now. Is Robert Kraft, this legacy he's already built, but where we're at now, Michael, is he in danger of sort of teetering into that and becoming this meddling owner? Do you think there's a possibility that starts to spread around the league about him?
Well, I think he definitely wants to be involved with his team. I think he owns the team. He has every right to be involved with the team. I don't think he wants to be a hands-off owner. I think he's always been involved with the team. Bill would have to call him to tell him what was going on. And, he would say yes and no to some of those things, but mostly he would say yes. But I think, to me, he's always been involved, and I think Bill's done a good job of managing that. But now, without Bill to manage it, there's no telling what he could do.
Do other good owners do this? Is this normal, or did this shock you that this is happening?
No, other good owners rely on the people that they hire. I don't think Steve Bisciotti would be calling around, right? I don't think he'd be calling around asking about that. You know, if I worked for Al Davis wouldn't call somebody else up for advice on how to handle his rate. He would figure out how to do it. I think it's when you don't know the answer that you're trying to figure it out. I just don't know who's going to try to help them. I mean, it's kind of a shocking story to me because, like, who wants to go out of their way to help the Patriots become a good team?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, listen, you brought up Jerod Mayo. I agree with you there, but we can't let Alex Van Pelt off the hook either, right? Because, I mean, obviously that's someone who's supposed to be developing your young quarterback too, right?
Right, but they hired him.
Yeah.
They were involved in hiring too. Everybody was. The Krafts were involved in the hiring of it. They could say they're not. They went through Jonathan, Robin Glazer. They were all involved. They were in the offices down there doing the interviewing process. So they all were. So look, I think to me, this is an attempt by the Patriots to try to, knowing that the season isn't going the way they want it to go. I know they have 3 wins, but they also know they're not going to beat very many teams like they were able to beat Tennessee. You know, like they were able to beat the Bears this past weekend, right? I mean, they played Tennessee close, but it really wasn't a close game when you break it down.
Mm-hmm. And you say that too. There's one thing to do it. There's another thing to let it get leaked out.
Right.
Why does this get out to the media?
When you do it, though, George, when you do it, look, there's nobody keeps a secret in the NFL. There's no, you know, when you do something like that, you had to know it was going to get out. You had to. Mm-hmm. You had to know it was going to get out. There's no way it wasn't going to get out. Because there are no secrets in the NFL, you know? And so, look, they'll deny the story. You wait, you'll get the denial. Stacey James will be, by the time we're done this podcast, there'll be a denial.
When we see this, and again, like, it detracts from them finally, like, they played a game Sunday where they just look like a competent, smart team. Like, they executed when they had to, and they got the win.
Yep.
Bad team they beat, but they got the win. This distraction creeps in. Is this, and like Travis asked it, it's like Robert Kraft's doing too much. Jonathan Kraft. How do you now move forward if you're Jerod Mayo and if you're Alex Van Pelt, where they're going to come in with input and you have to take it? Like, that's what gets me too of. It kind of takes away the confidence that your guys have built up as a coaching staff.
This hasn't been the first time they've come in. See, you're reacting to it as the first time.
Yeah.
They've been doing this all year.
Okay.
I mean, so for those guys in the building, they know it. They're not. This is not unexpected. They've been doing this all year. They're involved. I mean, so, like, I don't think you can misjudge that. I think they're involved, and I think that involvement is what it's all about.
Is that something that they want? I feel like this is also – yeah.
I think
like a guy that put out the documentary.
I think Jonathan has always wanted to run the team. Now, he wants plausible deniability, but he wants to run the team. He doesn't want the fans on him because the fans don't want him to run the team, but he wants to run the team. Hell, he has an ownership to the team. Of course he can run the team.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Listen, Michael, I'll be honest with you. I don't even smoke cigarettes, and these damn Patriots make me want to smoke a pack a day. So let me get off of them and ask you about the league. Right now, as it stands today, who is your MVP? Is it Lamar Jackson, or do you think there's maybe a MVP fatigue with him?
No, I think he's playing better than he's ever played. I think he's the MVP of the league by far. I think he's been the best player, and his team's responded. And frankly, his team isn't as good as it was last year defensively. Mm-hmm. And this is not a good team defensively. So he's had to do more this year than ever before. He's the MVP for sure.
Is there something you see in him that you think he can shake the guy that becomes the pumpkin in the playoffs and actually break through and be Lamar? We see regular season MVP Lamar and get this team AFC Championship game and maybe break through and get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, I think he's playing too well to just think he's not going to be able to have any stumps or bumps in the road. I think he's playing just way too good.
I know George is going to ask you about the firings, but I want to ask you about who's shining here. Who's your coach of the year right now? I got Tomlin. Who do you got?
Me too. I think Tomlin's done a great job. I think Andy Reid's done a great coaching job with his team. I don't think they're as good as everybody suspects. They're 9-0. He's facing 2 Super Bowl wins. It's always hard to motivate your team. I think it's a really good job. Yeah, I think Jim Harbaugh's done a wonderful job out at the Chargers. So is Sean Payton. I mean, those guys won't get enough credit because they're not flashy and winning their division, but they're playing really well.
And who do you think the next coach to get fired, or if you even look at the hot seats, who do you think are the next few guys that we may see let go?
I think it's Doug Peterson for sure. And I think, I think that's one that's probably going to happen. You know, we know Mike McCarthy's probably a lame duck coach down in Dallas, and who knows what happens in New York.
When you see what's happened in Chicago, Matt Eberflus, like we can all see, he's not meant to be a head coach. But there are also people calling for Ryan Poles' job. And when I look at the roster he's built up, the fleecing he did to get Caleb, that pick, and also DJ Moore, do you think Ryan Poles' job is in jeopardy as well? Because I think that would be a dumb firing.
Well, I think it would. I think it should be. I mean, he's built a nickel team. He's got no offensive line. He's taken all these resources and built him an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
At some point, you got to block some people, George. They leave this guy's on a pace to get sacked for the record time. I mean, you can't keep doing that. And he's neglected it. And his defensive line and offensive line. He plays in Chicago. It's windy and cold there. Mm-hmm. You can't be a 7-on-7 team there.
Yep.
Michael, what do you kind of see if Bill Belichick decides to come back to coaching? Where do you see his market? Do you think he'll be a hot name? We saw last offseason, I thought a lot of these teams, particularly Atlanta, passing him up was a mistake. But do you think that this offseason, if he decides to come back, that he'll be at the top of the wish list for a lot of teams? Or do you think a lot of these teams will pass him up?
I think he'll be at the top. I mean, I heard Adam Schefter say the same thing. I mean, how can he be? He's the best coach of all time. Right. I mean, if you really want to win, you're going to talk to Bill.
Yeah.
If you were to pick a best landing spot for him, now we see the more vacancies open up. Where do you think would be the best spot for him to end up?
Well, I think where he could put his system in place. I think where he could hire the people around him that he needs. Because to be a great leader, you need the right people around you.
Who do you like in terms of these lame duck coaches who will likely be fired? We all know the names. I'll give you one that I like that I think is going to get canned, and I would fire him again, or I would hire him again in 5 seconds after he gets fired, and that's Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland. I think he's kind of getting a raw deal here. The guy won a playoff game with Baker Mayfield. Then they bring in Deshaun Watson. It's a mess. I like him. He calls his own plays. I think he could work here in New England personally, but do you like him, or is there another one that you think will get fired that you think will get hired again in 5 seconds?
Well, I think Mike Vrabel should have got hired in 5 seconds, and he didn't, so it's always hard to predict that. Yeah. I think Kevin's done a good job. He's won Coach of the Year twice, but, look, it's a tough situation trying to coach a quarterback that's not very good.
Right.
Michael, love your pick for MVP. Love who you're talking about with the coaches. Look, we've seen the Lions, the Chiefs, and the Ravens seem to be the upper class. Out of those 3 teams, who do you think is the most legit to be the Super Bowl winner?
I think it's the Lions. I mean, they have a balanced team. Look, when you turn the ball over 5 times and interceptions and, one at the end of the half and one to start the second half, and you still win the game against a good team, you're probably the best team in the league. And they have that look to them, right? They have that edge to them. They look like they're ready to go, and I think they really are.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a kicker winning games for you and who's selling bricks a year ago, they're hitting every button perfectly. He's Michael Lombardi. He's a host of the GM Shuffle, coach of Bill Belichick. Catch him on the Lombardi line on VSiN as well. Michael, as always, thanks for taking the time. We'll see you next week, my friend.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Bye-bye.
Man, that was good. We go back and forth on Lions and Chiefs all the time, Trav. And that's the thing is, like, they have that look. And what I've said, too, it's the 52-14 win, awesome. Like, you don't throw the ball, you win running the ball. It's the 5 interceptions. You come back, you beat the Texans.
Yep.
And you have a kicker that is just like, I hate it. Someone's due. I'm not going to say Detroit's due. I hate teams of destiny.
Yeah.
But everything goes their way. And they've been dealing with adversity, but they can win in so many different ways. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be a blowout.
Yep.
They find ways to win.
I'll tell you this. You're right. We have been going back and forth about who's better, Detroit or Kansas City. If everything plays out the way we think, George,
I hope
we could find out in the last game of the season who is better between those two. We could.
So what's interesting, too, we spoke about it with Michael, he gave us a wherever Bill Belichick can bring in his people, sounds like, have the resources to build out his staff.
Yep.
That's what's interesting. So the vacancies, there's the Saints. Everyone's predicting the Cowboys as well. There could be some wild cards in there. The Bears will eventually open up. Then we have the Browns. We think Kevin Stefanski can be gone. The Raiders, the Jaguars. Raiders are a question mark. Maybe they stick. The Jags can be there. The Jets have the vacancy. He will not go to the Jets. He hates them. Yeah. But out of those, where do you think would be a spot for him? It makes sense to bring in his staff, bring in his people, and have an owner that will give him reign of, here is the pay. Go build out a staff with a big salary, and then you also have a lot of say in the GM capabilities as well.
I want to ask you this as we sort of talk this out together. Let's go process of elimination. You say he won't go to the Jets. I agree. I'll be honest. I think I'm going to take him not going to the Raiders I'm gonna add that to the equation.
Yeah.
Of teams that just I think Tom being involved, I just think it's kind of weird. It's Vegas. You need to do something splashy and flashy there. I don't know if Bill's the right fit for that organization right now either. So I'm gonna say Jets and Raiders are out.
Yeah.
I think it's, you mentioned the wild cards. I don't know if this is a wild card or not because Dable hasn't looked good. I think he's going to the Giants. I really do. I think he's going to the Giants. I think the Maras love him. I think he loves that franchise.
He does.
I think they'll let him do what he wants. They got to figure out the quarterback, obviously. But I think Bill is going to end up breaking Shula's record in a Giants, I guess, cutoff hoodie. A sleeveless cutoff hoodie.
He'll be first day on the sidelines, break out one he had from when he was with them back in the 80s,
That's
90s. Right. I get it, that marriage between ownership and Belichick, the respect, he wants history. The Giants have finally got their offensive line on track, have a good defensive line, young secondary budding, elite wide receiver. So check. Mm-hmm. Especially wide receiver where Bill can't scout. Mm-hmm. Cool, you got Malik Neighbors. My issue is that whatever team brings him on is signing up for 2 years and he's gone.
Yeah.
Who's his offensive coordinator going to be? Because that's important. Who's going to be successor? Is it Josh McDaniels? So then the Giants are signing up for Bill for 2 years. Josh McDaniels potentially as head coach. Mm-hmm. We saw Denver. We saw Vegas. Like Matt Eberflus, some people are meant to be a coordinator and not a head coach.
Yep.
That is what I wonder there. But you're right. And especially, Bill will call up Bill Parcells for his blessing. Mm-hmm. And he'll say, yeah, you can take over. You can coach there.
Yep.
So we'll see. Hey, you enjoy hearing Michael Lombardi and Patriots talk. We'll make sure to catch Foxboro Rush every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Available on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wherever you get your podcasts. Also, go to YouTube, hit the subscribe button for the Nesson YouTube page as well. And make sure to like, subscribe, download, rate, review. And also make sure to email us, thechat@nesson.com. If it's a Patriots question, we'll bring it on Foxboro Rush. All right, T, so big news for the Patriots.
Yeah.
Just in the scope of everything, Christian Barmore returned to practice on Thursday.
Yep.
Now, he was diagnosed with blood clots during training camp back in July. Jerod Mayo announced on Wednesday Christian Barmore would eventually return. And it was revealed Thursday it would be his first practice back. Now, once he's officially designated to return from non-football injury list, the Patriots have 21 days to activate him to the active roster. So right now, he's practicing, but he's not off the NFI. So it could be an limited role, and there should be a ramp-up period.
Sure.
I don't know if he'll return this season. Regardless, it is big. Let's just say overall health, Christian Barmore is feeling well enough after dealing with blood clots that he's okay. Let alone he's back to even being on football activities. This is huge news for him personally as a human, for his future. He's very young. He's very talented. But also for the Patriots moving forward, it sounds like they'll have a cornerstone guy back for the next few years.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I mean, just for the guy, you're so happy that he's passed, hopefully, this chapter of questionable health right now in his life. Hopefully that can be in the rearview mirror moving forward for him. So that's the number one thing and I'm glad you acknowledge that because that's what we're about here on Foxboro Rush anyway. It's a person first. In terms of football, this is great news for both parties, the Patriots and for the guy. Because, look, I know, and I've seen the comments online of people saying, well, why should he even play this season? This season's over anyways. Don't risk it. No. This isn't some veteran we're talking about here with a bunch of Super Bowls in the trophy case at home. This is a young guy who just got paid, who's still trying to make hay and earn his name and build his own legacy in this league. He deserves to play. He should be playing. And yes, I too believe the season is over. But it doesn't matter, clearly, to the Patriots. They are not interested in tanking, okay? They're trying to win games. So if you're going to ruin your first-round draft pick status anyways, you might as well play your best players, right?
Yeah.
If you were tanking, this is what it would look like, ladies and gentlemen. You would not. You would say, hey, he's practicing. He's feeling better. We're going to shut him down the rest of the way. But we're happy he's feeling better. No. That's not going to happen. You're right. There'll be a ramp-up period, George. But he's coming back to this lineup. And guess what else? He's going to help you win some of these games that we think they're going to lose. And then they're going to pick 10th or 11th in the damn draft. And we're all going to be upset in April. But right now, we'll take the wins.
If they win games and they end up with a guard and Will Campbell.
How fitting, right?
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
How
I will
fitting.
when you're answering. I'm going to pull up my big board and go, well, they could get this receiver at this slot. What's important, too, is like the Patriots, and we'll see their stats over the course of the season especially, get propped up by
Sure.
that Bears win.
Yep.
Remember, the Bears had 129 total yards of offense, maybe?
That's right. Yep.
They're 23rd in the league in allowing almost 131 rushing yards per game. Christian Barmore brings back their second highest graded run defender per PFF on the defensive line last season for guys that played 200 or more snaps. But what he is more importantly, he's a 3-4 down guy because his 8.5 sacks, his 49 pressures on top of his 13 tackles for a loss. He affects everything in the game. He blows up the middle of the pocket. And when you bring him back, he's better all around than a Keon White, a Dietrich Wise, a Daniel Ukawale, a Devon Godshaw. Anthony Jennings, especially on the edge, is their best run defender.
Yep.
But Christian Barmore is really good. There is that trickle-down effect. I have called out this run defense, how awful they are all season long.
Yep.
No Jawan Bentley, no Christian Barmore, no Kyle Duggar. He's dealing with his ankle. No Jabril Peppers. All that affects it. As Michael Lombardi pointed out, yeah, well, Ryan Poles, I do think he did a good job. That picking Roma Dunze, that one I cannot defend. That is a mistake.
Yeah.
Even in the loss to the Patriots, though, keep in mind, they were down 4 starting offensive linemen. But I say that to say this. It's old school, but it's true. You win by building a football team front to back, middle to the out. Offensive, defensive line, D-line, D-ends, center guard tackles, and you go from there. On the defense, they have the outside covered, Christian Gonzalez. They have the back end covered, Kyle Duggar. They have the front with a Keon White and a Christian Barmore. It's big to get them back. And then we can see this defense truly play if they get to that spot.
Yeah, I agree. Here's the other thing to think about Christian from a standpoint of when he's in there, George. He's been cleared. He's back. Ramp up period over. He's back 100%, right? He's going to have a bigger chip on his shoulder than he already had, my friend.
Yeah.
Because you have the off-the-field stuff that we witnessed. You have the health stuff going on. He's going to want to come in here. Remember, he got the bag already. So now at this point, the team has showed you they're behind you. They're invested in you. But now he's going to go out there and want to prove to everyone else, the naysayers, the doubters, the haters, etc., that no, I am a stud. You don't think I am? Watch this. So benefit Patriots because, in other words, George, I think when he is back out there 100% full-time, things are normal again, so to speak. I think this guy is going to give you everything he has. He's going to give you the best. We'll see the best Christian Barmore we've seen so far would be my guess.
Yeah, and I mean, he's the gem to me of the 2021 draft.
Yeah.
There was Mac Jones, there's Christian Barmore, Ramondre Stevenson, but that's it. Out of that draft class, Barmore and Ramondre, the only guys left out of 7 picks that were made. No, excuse me, 8 picks that they made. Mac Jones, all right. Ronnie Perkins, never anything. Cam McGrone, Joshua Bledsoe, William Sherman, Trey Nixon. Barmore is huge. And also, he's entering, like, he just signed that 4-year, $92 million extension. He's a big boost. When you're playing a team like the Rams, where we're seeing their offensive line get back to healthy and acclimated, the Dolphins, their offensive line's okay.
Yep.
The Colts, I just don't know. But you could blow up the middle of the pocket against those 3 opponents. To me, these are your last 3 winnable games because then it's Arizona, Buffalo, and LA. Buffalo twice. That's where you can mess around and maybe win 2 of these 3. Rams is tough, man. That coaching is good.
Yeah, but think about this with Buffalo. Don't just be so quick to give those
they can run the ball.
As L's. Well, I just think if you look at the division right now, I believe in the Dolphins. I think they're going to be hot, but I don't think they're going to win the division. They're going to be fighting for their wild card lives, and they still may not get it because they're messed around all season with Tua being hurt and all that. But I think the Bills will have this division wrapped up late in this season.
Yeah.
Meaning rest, chill, winnable game for the Patriots. And you know this as well as I do because we've seen it here like Groundhog's Day over and over again.
And that's the only reason I could give them that win is Bills resting.
You get to the last few games of the season. I believe they play Buffalo at the end of the season, a literal last game. I could see all of us in the media and all the fandom of the Patriots saying, you know what? Lose that game. We'll have a top 5 pick. We can take a tackle. George, the GM, will be happy. And guess what happens? They go out and win the game, sure as the day is long, and it knocks them back. All the losers in the league lose, because that's what they do. And sure enough, that win puts them back at 10 or 11. And we're like, oh, my God, if they had just lost to the Bills. Why they have to win that game? We've seen it around here, George. It happens all the time. It happened last season. It's going to happen again. You watch.
In a defense-rich draft, man, 10 to 11, maybe Kelvin Banks
I'm not
falls
saying
to
it's terrible.
It's bad.
But it's bad if you're not top 5. It's not the end of the world if you're picking at 10. But this team needs to pick in the top 5.
They need top 3.
Yeah,
and
well, right.
It goes one of two ways. You either get Tate McMillan from Arizona.
Yep.
You don't get Travis Hunter. Maybe you do.
No.
But most importantly, you either have your pick of your tackles, which you need the most, your pick of your receivers.
You're saying in top 5.
Top 5.
Yes.
Mainly top 3. In top 3, I mean, it's going to go Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter. That's the 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
But if you're top 3, you at least trade back, get more assets. That's the most important thing. 10, that's why I say if they pick a guard, because Will Campbell, it's still a question of what he's projected with.
Yeah.
If they slide back to 10 and they end up with a tackle that really is a guard and a solid tackle class, not a great tackle class, a solid wide receiver draft, not a great wide receiver draft, that is bad.
Well, yes.
You want them to win games, but that is bad. Picking at 10 is bad, Trav.
What you just described is the perfect draft to be in the top 5, top 3, and just trade back, right? Everything you just said, there are no stud, home run, gotta have this guy at these positions of need for the Patriots. I throw Travis Hunter in there, but to your point, you got to pick top 3, and the kid has to want to come here because we know there's a bunch of stuff going on with Dion saying, yeah, just like my son Shedeur, Travis is my son too, and I am going to work with him and dictate who can and cannot draft him. So outside of that, I don't really see any like generational player that's going to come in and for sure help you, barring health, of course.
Yeah.
So it's the perfect draft, George. If you are in the top 5, I think it's going to be harder to do if you're at 10, to your point. But if you're in top 5, top 3, there's enough good quarterbacks, enough Travis Hunters of the world in this draft where you could either take a Travis Hunter or trade back. But if you're picking at 7, 8, 9, 10 or later, you're screwed. How's that sound?
You know, the one thing I'd give the Jags, and this is where I need to think of the solution of Travis Hunter and what does he do?
Yeah.
The Jaguars, if they pick 1 overall, I think they stick. I think they take Travis Hunter.
Okay.
And the reason for this, you get an elite corner.
Yeah.
You have Brian Thomas Jr. You have your wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
You get in the red zone, 3rd and short, money down situation. Enter Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
Sick route runner, sick catches. He does his job. Cool. Move the chains, get off the field. Let's keep you healthy. We can play you on both sides. The Patriots, you go, well, they put him opposite of Christian Gonzalez. They don't have that wide receiver 1. And that's what you need to think of. Shoot, if the Giants, they need a quarterback. If they went Travis Hunter with that D-line, that young secondary, you put him at corner, you have Malik Neighbors, and again, in certain situations, you bring him on the field, that's the best solution for him. I do see that happening. I think that's how he ends up still being a two-way guy in the NFL. And I'm excited to see it. I don't want to pin him to either side. I know you wouldn't either. But again, a team like the Patriots, they're not built to draft a Travis Hunter. Unless something crazy happens in the offseason via trade, sign, and extension, then we'll see.
Yeah.
You want to hear all about Boston sports? Check out Nesson's Daily Sports Podcast. Boston has entered the chat. You can enter the conversation by calling the Nesson Vodcast hotline at 617-790-0928 or email thechat@nesson.com. Boston has entered the chat is available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and wherever podcasts are found. So let's go back to the conversation we had with Mr. Michael Lombardi.
Yep.
Just Trav and I here, though, and you guys, the listeners and viewers. So the Patriots are calling around asking for help developing Drake Maye. Albert Beer reported this. He said the Krafts are asking for advice. Quote, they have done some research over the last few weeks on how to handle a young quarterback. Obviously, they failed with Mac Jones from 2021 through 2023.
Yep.
So the Krafts have asked people and done their homework on how the right way to handle a young quarterback is and how they're going to do that forward. Let me start with, and I understand Michael Lombardi's part of there's no secrets in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
There are, and you could keep it because you can give someone info and say, between you and me, this is what we're doing right now. Mm-hmm. And you know what happens? What the Krafts should have wanted? There's an off season. Mm-hmm. This is where you gain some trust and grace in the fans. You fire an offensive coordinator, you bring a new one in, you revamp the coaching staff.
Yep.
Week 3, when Drake Maye is really making that jump, Then the report comes out. This started week 10 of last season. But it's how this is reported. They have done some research over the last few weeks on how to handle a young quarterback. The Krafts have asked people and done their homework on how the right way to handle a young quarterback is. If it was worded like people have been getting calls from the Krafts, then that is a whatever source from a different team or a retired guy telling this to Albert Breer.
Yeah.
This is the Krafts telling him, hey, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, we're called around.
And they're trying to recover and save face with the fans of, look, we're doing everything. This is where I get it. January 7th, your season ended. You lost. You're picking 3rd overall.
Yep.
Were you doing this on January 8th? Were you doing this on January 11th when you fired Bill Belichick? Or January 12th after you hired Jerod Mayo? That's what's damning to me. The Krafts continue to want to repaint this picture that they run the team, which they do. You are the owners.
They sign the checks.
And Robert Kraft said there should have been more checks and balances. Fine. But why are you letting this info get out? I'm fine with you doing this homework, but you're undermining your head coach, your offensive coordinator, the progress those guys are making, and now the seat gets hotter, and you're having guys question. And now what are you doing? Are you walking into film meetings? Are you walking into Elliot Wolf's office? Go get this guy, not this guy. Why? Well, because this person told me. Why are you paying Elliot Wolf? Why are you paying Jerod Mayo? Why are you paying Alex Van Pelt to be football people that run the team?
That's right.
Robert Kraft, Jonathan Kraft, and Robin Glazer continue to do too much and want too much credit. The best owners hire the right people to make the decisions and delegate the right way. They are not doing that.
Yeah, I disagree with Mike Lombardi when he said it's more on Mayo and Van Pelt than it is Elliot Wolf. I disagree. I throw them all in together like you just did.
I do too.
Mayo, Van Pelt, and Elliot Wolf.
Yeah.
And I'll say this too, because I agree with everything you said, but I'll add this. I think sometimes these owners, the reason they hire rookies at all these positions, and I'm not talking on the field, I'm saying head coach, offensive coordinator, whole new staff, we're going to make this a communal thing. You can get away with that with people who are new, with people who are inexperienced. You can change your whole culture as an owner. You can say, you know what? The last person we had in here didn't communicate well, and they ran the show, no matter how successful, mind you, George, but they ran the show. So in this new wave, we want to do things, a democracy. We want all of us weighing in here and figure, well, okay, that's fine. But then things like this happen because of, inexperience.
Yeah.
So you almost have to be careful. I understand you're the boss. You sign the checks. You make all the calls. Yes, technically, it is your team to do with what you want to do. We all understand that. But this is sort of a cautionary tale of hiring inexperienced people in these key positions. If you're going to do it, let them learn. Let them grow. Let them make mistakes. That should be baked in the hiring process.
Yeah.
But what you can't do is what's happening here. You can't let me back up. You can't fire experience, hire inexperience.
Yeah.
And then when it's, inexperienced, you're like, I don't like this. I better get involved. That's the wrong thing to do. You should have struck, the answer's probably in between, right, George? You should have struck a balance.
Yep.
You don't want so experienced that you're bullheaded and it's my way and I've been doing this for X amount of long and had this success. But you damn sure don't want wet behind the ears either. So you need to kind of find a balance. Who's someone right in the middle of that, who's had 4 or 5, maybe 10 years of experience, but they're still new enough and open enough and personality-wise fits enough to be communal, to have all of us involved, to preach that sort of culture. And then, George, you can pick and choose. Hey, maybe you sort of pick your battles.
Yeah.
I don't want to get involved with the quarterback. This person knows how to develop this quarterback. Maybe I see something else on the business side or something else on the football ops side where I can pull this person to the side because they have enough experience, George.
Yeah.
I can pull them to the side, have a conversation. I don't like how this is going. Maybe they explain it to me, whatever it is. But the way they're doing it here tells you, to your point, it was a mistake to hire this entire rookie staff if you're just going to undermine them. That was a mistake.
And it falls on everyone, too, because I hope the advice that the Krafts are seeking, which I don't knock them doing.
I don't knock it either.
I hate that it got leaked.
That's right.
But I hope the advice the Patriots are receiving is, you know what you don't do? You don't sign KJ Osborne, who's just like all the other receivers in your room. You know what you don't do?
Jeez.
You don't draft a right tackle hoping he'll be a left tackle.
Preach.
You know what you don't do? You don't sign a right tackle saying he could be a swing tackle and play on the left side. Turns out he can't.
Preach.
You know what you don't do? You don't sign a wide receiver for big money. I'm not talking Calvin Ridley.
Right.
Darnell Mooney, 3 years, $39 million, 26 fully guaranteed. Darnell Mooney has been one of the best wide receivers in the league this year. You get a guy like him with these pieces, still draft your same receivers. That works. That helps a quarterback develop. That benefits the entire offense. And you know what? Because you're the Patriots and you suck, that contract's maybe 3 years, $45 million, $30 million guaranteed. Guess what? $10 million guaranteed money a year over the life of this contract. Worth it if it develops Drake Maye. And a guy that's signed age 27, you have him until he's 30. That's what works. I hope the advice they're getting back to, let your GM have a full budget and do it. Because it falls on the guy that picks the players for the roster. Because that's how it goes. The GM picks the players on the roster. The head coach takes those players, what they're given with, and develops and makes them execute makes them win.
Implements the system.
So I hope the feedback the Krafts are getting is let your guys do their job.
I'll say this too, George. You make a great point with Darnell Mooney. But let me go closer to home. I mean, a guy you had in your backyard. It still drives me nuts. And he's not having some great season like Mooney is. But Jacoby Myers sure could help you right about now. Couldn't he?
That comes into the checks and balances.
It's like
that Robert Kraft should have. Again, owners should do this where you go, have the meeting. What are you doing with these free agents? And he goes, I'm going to let Jacoby go. I'm going to sign Juju. Why? Well, because Jacoby was speaking in the media, calling out Matt Patricia and Joe Judge for having no idea. Yeah, Bill, well, the offense sucked. No, you're bringing back Jacoby. He's consistent and he's good.
That's right.
That's where this comes into.
That's right.
That's where everyone goes immediately Calvin Ridley and they think that. No. It's the Darnell Mooneys to me. It's even the pieces like a Mike Williams. Not great.
No.
But the pieces this offense needs. Where you get them offseason by offseason. And guess what? When you draft that elite number one wide receiver or sign one this offseason, you already have a good 2.
That's right.
And you have a good 3 and Polk and a good 4 and Demario Douglas.
That's right. Who are developing, by the way.
Off-season, exactly. You let them develop. The NBA season is here, and the big question is, will the Celtics repeat and claim banner 19? You can find everything about the NBA and its culture on Nesson's basketball podcast, Hold My Banner, hosted by Travis Thomas and Ante Campbell. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime, and wherever else podcasts are found. And if you go to Nesson's YouTube page, hit the subscribe button as well. Again, that's Hold My Banner, everything you need NBA, everything you need Celtics. So, Trav, I was
yes, sir.
I was speaking with the class out in Austin P University. Clarksville, Tennessee. My buddy's an adjunct professor there. He had me on. And at one point, a kid goes, what is the absolute lock this weekend?
The lock, huh?
And I go, brother, there is no lock. Let me tell you that.
The repo man locking those clamps on your car to take it is the only lock. You start betting with locks.
He's like, what do you throw everything on? And then I go, there's no lock. He goes, I know. And I go, all right, be a little.
Yeah, exactly.
But I look at the spread. Rams -4.5 at the Patriots. This should be at 5.5, 6 in my opinion. We won't get betting heavy to start. Let's just get into the matchup. What do you think of this between the Rams and the Pats?
Listen, bro, I've been the king of betting on the Patriots to cover spreads, and I've hit a couple of them, including last week. But I look, man, not this week. I'm laying the points with the Rams. You know what my biggest concern is? It's not Drake Maye. It's not the offense. It's not Jerod Mayo against Sean McVay. All the things I know we're going to talk about. My biggest concern is a young man who I told you was going to be the truth, and all he's done is make me look like a genius because Caleb has let me down. But on the defensive side, I told you draft night, Jerod Verse was going to be a bleeping problem, and he is. Now, he's not alone. This is a young, opportunistic Rams defense. I like what they're doing, but they're very aggressive. They're going to get after Drake Maye. I think they're going to neutralize the run game with Ramondre Stevenson. I just think there's going to be a hard time scoring in this game, and we know the Rams are capable of putting up points. So I can see this game sort of going where the Rams jump out early, 10, 14 points, and it's just too tough for the Patriots to overcome. They'll probably put together some good drives.
Yeah.
You may get a touchdown here. Joey Sly may be busy again, right? But they're not going to cover. I think the Rams are likely in this game at least a touchdown better, if not 10 points.
That's it. It's 4.5.
Right.
I think they win by that.
Yep.
The offensive line was good against the Bears.
It was.
I don't know what to think of that team right now. Still, Jerod Verse with a 21% pass rush win rate is one of the highest in the league.
He's amazing.
And then you have Kobe Turner and Braden Fisk on the interior blowing up the middle of that pocket.
All young dudes.
And Verse is a 3-4 down guy. He stops the run too exceptionally well. Turner, Verse, Bobby Brown, not that Bobby Brown. This is a good fourth year in the league, Bobby Brown. They're really good at stopping the run. This defensive line is great.
Yep.
And we saw the struggles. People, well, they're coming off a loss against the Dolphins, and that may benefit the Rams here.
Absolutely.
There's doubters. It motivates them.
Yeah.
They activated 2 starting offensive linemen back into their lineup. Guess what, guys? Takes a while to get back into the fold of playing and executing.
Yes.
The pass rush was great for the Dolphins. They were exploiting that Rams. And people are going, well, the pass rush was exceptional for the Patriots. 9 sacks, George. What are you saying? Without their both starting tackles, lost a starting guard, and Caleb Williams looks lost, and Shane Waldron is lost, it's Sean McVay,
Yeah.
it's Matt Stafford, and it's that defensive line. That is the 3 biggest players in this game.
That's right.
Those are the 3 biggest players. We saw the Patriots play smart, competent, good football against one of the most poorly coached teams I've ever seen on the field. Sean McVay is anything but that.
Yep.
That's a difference maker to me on this one.
Yes. I think you said that beautifully. Rams coming off a big loss. You're putting your trust in Stafford. You're putting your trust in Sean McVay. There's nothing wrong with that. But I also think in the same breath, some of the things you said about the Patriots are why they won't get smoked in this game. I think Drake Maye keeps you in games. I think Jerod Mayo is competent. I don't think he's a great coach. I don't think he's the worst either.
Yeah.
And that's what I learned in that Bears game because we looked at the worst, and Jerod Mayo was not there. So because of that competency, because of Drake Maye being more than capable, I think you stay in the game. I think it's competitive.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, I think it offensively will look a lot like it did against the Bears. Look, the Bears were a mess, George. We saw that. Defensively, the Patriots did a great job. I think they still, just right now, picked up another sack on Caleb Williams, okay? But offensively, let's be fair. It was still pulling teeth for this team to score, particularly touchdowns. That's why I think that's going to look a lot like last week, this week, meaning Sly's going to be busy. Drake will get in the end zone once. Mayo will be competent. You'll hang in the game. But you're not covering. This isn't going to be some close game. I think the Rams are a touchdown better. It'll be a respectable loss, but a loss nonetheless.
27-20?
Yeah, I'm fine
Right.
with that. I don't know if, by the way, all this waxing poetic we're doing about the Rams, I'm not so sure I'm giving them 27 either. I mean, I don't know. It could be 27-20. I could see a 17-10. I could, they're not the greatest show on turf exactly either. I don't know if I'm at 20. I'll be honest. I might be a little lower than that. I might be a 24-16 type of vibe. 23-16, somewhere in there.
That's fine. Eat clock, kick ass.
Yeah.
Rams do it.
Yeah.
The one guy we haven't mentioned who's been a dog since his high school days in Missouri.
Who?
Kyron Williams.
Yeah.
He eats touches.
He does.
He eats yards. He kills defenses softly.
Yep.
And then when you have Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Demarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell, Jordan Winnington,
Sheesh.
Johnson, I'm blanking on his first name, but he had a key third down catch when the Rams beat the Seahawks in overtime. Again, these layers to this offense for the Rams, it's too much.
Yeah.
That's why I give them that 27. I feel like I'm being generous. I like that 16 spot for the Pats, though. But we're both saying the same thing. Rams win.
Rams win.
Tough coming
They
over
cover.
for the West Coast.
Yeah.
I just like to say to I love the compliment, and you said it Sunday, and it is absolutely beautiful. Jerod Mayo is not the worst head coach of the NFL.
Right.
We saw the worst.
Yeah.
It's like I'm saying, you meet your boy's like new girlfriend.
Yeah.
She's cool, right? And you're like, she's not awful.
Yeah. Right. By the way,
yeah.
We're talking these names. I just wrote this down. Would you rather be named? Ready? Okay. I'm only giving you 3. First name only. Would you rather
my last name?
No, first. Yes.
No, okay. Balekji.
Would you rather be named Tutu, Puka, or Drake?
Drake Balekji, Tutu Balekji, Puka Balekji. Puka Balekji. Puka. It's the K, man. I have the Puka and the Balekji.
All right, Thomas doesn't work with any of these.
Puka Thomas? Tutu Thomas?
Tutu.
And you know what your nickname would be? Triple T. Oh, what's up? It's my boy Trip Thomas.
Oh, quick story. I know we got to go. Producers hate me. Listen.
Yes, they do.
I love you. When I was in school, my middle name's Andre. I hate my first name, Travis.
Your middle. Hold on. Wait. Let me
middle
pause.
name's Andre.
Your middle name's Andre. Andre is like a Lebanese Armenian name. You'll catch it a lot.
I love Andre.
I always knew you were my brother. How am I just finding that? Love the name Andre. Love Andre.
Hate Travis. Okay. So when I was probably like 12. I was like, you know what? I'm divorcing my first name. I'm going to have everyone address me by my middle name. So I told all my friends at school, don't call me Travis anymore. My middle name's Andre. Just call me Trey, which was a combo. One of my best friends was like, Trey? Like what? Like a food tray? Like people eat off of you? And everyone, immaturity. Everyone's like, yeah, you're like a tray at the lunch table. I'm like, oh my God. So I went nuts. I've been Travis ever since. I embraced my name ever since. Just wanted to tell that story.
I like that. Trey or Trip. Andre Thomas. Can I start calling you Dre?
I mean, it's too late. I'm too grown for this. Just call me my damn government name, would you?
Story to piggyback off that. When I was in college, some guy came and spoke, and he was like, look, I had a Russian last name. I changed it to this. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, my last name's Balekji. No one can say it right.
Right.
There was a 3-month period in college. I went by George Bale. I took off the KJI.
Wow.
And then a mentor I have, Howard Deneroff, one of the legends of sports radio.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome guy. I'm at Big East Media Day.
Yeah.
And I'm just having breakfast, barely awake. He's like, what's up, George? I'm talking to him. I go, hey, can I ask you something? I'm thinking about this. My last name's tough. Should I change it from Balekji to Bale? And he's like, what the F are you doing? And it was the best advice I got.
Great advice.
From him and Joe Scacciaferro.
Yes.
Who, again, was a mentor when I was interning elsewhere. They're like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
So time to time, my boys from college will just text me, George Bale, what's up? Just to give me crap.
What's up, Bale? So I'm Trip, you're Bale. There we go.
I'm calling you Dre, my guy.
I'll take
Dre.
that.
That's awesome. Hey, he's Travis Thomas, a.k.a. Dre Tay.
Come on.
Dre Thomas. I'm George Balekji, a.k.a. George Bale. This is Foxboro Rush. Shout out to Michael Lombardi for joining the show as always.
Yep.
Always love his perspective and opinions.
Yep.
Shout out to you guys for listening, making us a part of your day. Wherever you get your podcasts, please like, subscribe, download, rate, and review. Go to Ness's YouTube page, hit the subscribe button. And if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment below. Give us a thumbs up. Leave us a comment with something you want us to bring up in the show, and we'll bring it. Catch the latest episode where we talk about draft picks, the last 2, and you'll see what we did there. We'll see you guys on Monday with a fresh episode. Big game Sunday for the Pats. See you then.